Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, brought to you by our show partner, Join Cycling. I'm in the midst of a rainstorm / electrical strike. Luke reliably informed, he is also in the midst of it. He says it'll be over in 10 minutes. And that's almost what turned up at the end of this Dauphiné stage, the finish, which we didn't really see the last 500 meters up in the clouds or in the fog at 1,251 meters from Ganat to Col de la Loge. And it's like a 20k stepped climb finish. Very, very. We don't have too many of these, Benji. This is like in Algarve we have one of these sort of finishes.
Yeah.
It's almost beyond the climby sprinty boy.
Yeah, it's true, and it also kind of depends on the situation before the race, because now we're going into the stage with multiple riders that think, okay, I can actually get something going here. While in the Tour de France, there was that stage that Magnus Cort was sprinting against Nick Schultz, also kind of a similar vibe, but that's a breakaway stage because there's not too many teams that want to control a slightly harder stage than this, but with a similar finishing climb, if that makes sense. So when I looked at the parkour, I was thinking, okay, which teams are going to be willing to control here? And I thought it would either be Broe with Roglic, but then outside of that, we saw the likes of Romain Grégoire, Magnus Cort, that riders that could potentially win this stage, but I didn't anticipate those teams necessarily controlling, right?
Yeah, like I mentioned a million names yesterday, but I didn't. I thought it would be Trek soft pacing,
okay,
Bora for Rogla Bonies, and in a normal world for Remco Bonies Quickstep, but he's not going for GC here. And then
we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think it'd be Israel for turns because, as you say, it's a flat finish in the end. He's a puncher. He doesn't have the best flat sprint. I should probably go through it's 143 Ks, rolling terrain beforehand with a few categorized climbs. And then the last 20 Ks has a 7.5K, 6% climb, a short 5K plateau, another 3.5K, 6% climb. And then the last 7Ks, 6Ks to the finish are like false flat / a little bit uphill on like a decent road, 3-4%, and then the last 400 meters or so are flat. So it really is a special finish in that because a climbing sprinty boy has to climb really well to make a flat finish, which will be a sprint in the end, like in Romandy. This is still going uphill. And as you said, there's specialists for this, which are Magnus Cort is one of them. And he's here with Uno X. He has to take a victory this year. But then, yeah, like, who knows? They're very strange, these finishes. Anything else before the stage, Benji? No, before the break. The interviews.
Wow, I think there was some drama on the internet from Froome and Woods, who would be the leader when it comes to Israel, because L'Equipe came out with an article that was stating... L'Equipe came out with an article that said something along the lines of Froome will apparently be leader from Israel Premier Tech due to pressure of sponsors, and Woods might be out of the team as a consequence. And reality is, when it comes to that in my personal opinion, both haven't shown leadership qualities for the Tour de France. I think Froome hasn't even shown that he deserves a spot in the team yet for the Tour de France. Woods has had a few good races, like Tour de Jura, like top 15s in those like French 1.1s, which that's not godlike, but at least there's some form there. So I don't know. I think neither should have leadership, and I think they should make a breakaway attacking team with Derek G and all those kind of guys.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Woods is going to go. I mean, his preparation, he abandoned the Giro, I think, with a concussion. And his results before then weren't as good as like last year. Before the Tour, he actually came good. He won Occitanie. He second in the Ventoux Challenge, which is actually a hard race, behind Lenny. Sixth in Catalunya, including 3 top 10s. Much better results than this year. And then he obviously went on to win on Puy de Dôme when he caught Jorgensen in the breakaway. But I don't think either will be going. There's Fulsang as well, Benji. You know, he's also probably... He's in this Dauphiné. He'd be hoping to go to the Tour, but they got better younger riders, at least in my opinion. One of them showed himself today, actually, a brief flash. I've heard word on the grapevine that he's going pretty well. Mr. G.
Mate. Joe Blackmore. Send him to the Tour.
Oh, they can now? Because he's moved up. Where is he?
I don't know. Probably in the UK at home. Probably not. But
no, he did Gele Vasco de Geestenpijl on
what
Saturday.
did you just tell?
Gele Vasco de Geestenpijl.
Okay, I'll allow it. I had no clue what race you were talking about.
Farmers Cup on Saturday before the other Farmers Cup B on Sunday.
I could literally refer to any Belgian ChatGPT race
actually,
right
you know
now.
what? Brussels Cycling Classic, that was better than Tour of Flanders to watch. So I do say tongue in cheek, but actually these races are good to watch. They're entertaining. But anyway, enough on Israel's young prospects. A word on our show partner, Join Cycling, who have just brought out a few new features. I'll introduce one of them to you today. Join's activity classification. And I have this a fair bit, actually, where I go out. I'm supposed to be doing an endurance ride, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I did one even on the weekend with Seb Bowie here in Andorra. And it's supposed to be endurance. And then my average power matches the endurance average power. But then actually what I did was it's not strictly endurance. It was more a tempo workout because of, I climbed for 40 minutes at tempo, then descended for 15 minutes, freewheeling. My average power's in the endurance zone. I think I've done an endurance ride, but actually Join now with its intelligent features can tell me and you what type of workout it was, which is a tempo workout. And so this is a useful color coding as well, and where you can find it when you've submitted feedback on your suggested workout. You can see the activity classification as part of the workout summary card. There's various types: endurance, tempo, threshold, VO2 max, and strength. And it automatically shows you, even if it's for a ride that you did that wasn't part of the plan, which is most useful because that's what happens to me a fair bit. When does that happen to you, Benji? What's the hardest workout for you to actually nail correctly?
Mate, whenever I see like it depends, because when I'm riding indoors, I can nail the very difficult ones because I see in front of me what I'm doing. But you just taught me that apparently you can put a workout in your bike computer and it tells you what to do. I didn't know that. Yeah,
you can export. You export Join's workout. You go on the app, export workout, and you can send the Wahoo the fit file. Does it automatically.
Mate, previously, when I was going in outdoor rides, I was like, okay, this seems like a very complicated type of workout to do outdoors because I don't have it in my head. But if
to remember 7 by 2 mins with nice recovery. No, on your head unit, Garmin or Wahoo, you can play workout.
Okay, perfect. So those were the workouts I would replace on paper with I'll do an endurance ride of whatever length outside. But now I don't need to anymore because you've taught me how a bike computer works.
Yeah. So that also to full disclosure, I also figured that out in December. So no, because I would just remember it, like Beautiful Mind style. I'd be like, I got to do this at this power.
And mate, then you're at your sixth one. And you're like, how many have I done? Have I done 5 or 7?
Nah,
I need to make sure I did 7, so let's do one extra just to be sure.
Just remember. Now, of course, Join will always adapt to what you do. So even if you've done a workout that was slightly different to what you had planned, Join Cycling will adapt to that. And this maybe explains why it will change tomorrow's workout based on how you executed today's workout. So just wanted to keep you updated on those new features from Join Cycling, their new activity classification, which I find personally very, very useful, particularly with the riding I do. But the breakaway in the Dauphiné, Benji Labert, who I swear this is his job. He's always in these sort of breaks.
Yeah.
Gregard, who was on UnoX, he's now on Lotto Destiny. Conca, who is on Q365, Murasa, who's on Alpecin, and Amiral, who's on Decathlon, who just left Groupama FDJ, is a very, very strong time trial style rider. They were pretty strong break in the rolling terrain, Benji.
Yeah, pretty strong break, but also it's then dependent on who's going to chase behind. Then we expected Bora to chase for Roglic, but I didn't expect Israel Premier Tech to start pacing because in my head, I looked through their team this morning. I was like, okay, who in this team has a chance today to win? No one. No one in this team has a chance to win. Who has a chance to top 5? Maybe a Turns can land a 5th position, a 4th position, but I had zero belief that he can actually beat the likes of Roglic, the likes of Court, whatever, in a reduced group sprint at this finish line. He honestly was not in the top 5 favorites of me. So I don't see why Israel needs to take that responsibility upon themselves to do the controlling in this stage, because Teuns is not the favorite here. It's as if they think Teuns is a different rider than he actually is. Because a flat sprint, I don't rate Teuns as high as they apparently do. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I would see this more as like a Corbin strong. Joseph Blackmore would win this stage. He is really fast. I don't know how he is on the longer climbs, but actually Blackmore, he shouldn't be doing those BS races. He should be here.
We saw in Brabant Sapel that if you send both of those to the race, then Blackmore will be doing the lead up for Teuns because the team decides to so hierarchically. Is that a word?
Yeah. The guy with the lower salary goes in the front.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blackmore will be nice for this finish, but you're right, I was kind of surprised. And the break, I was looking on the live tracker, I was like, I know there's an uphill, but it's not that hard. Why are they really haven't brought much back of the breakaway? I would have wanted the break to start at 2 minutes, 1:30 to be in hand. I was kind of surprised that it was getting to the base of the final 20 Ks uphill with about 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes even. And also,
they instantly let it out to 5 minutes from the start instead of, for example, doing like 3.5 and then gradually starting to pace, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That was surprising. I was just surprised by that. Anyway, Pacher gets the first climb, the FDJ rider for Romain Gregoire, who, I don't know, like last year I would have said he would have cleaned this or at least top 3 guaranteed. This year he's not actually looked as good. Pacher just absolutely nukes it. Like, I don't know if he's got a new tattoo on his right sleeve. It's the new helmets FDJ have. They even look like they have a new kit. I don't know, maybe it's just the contrast to helmets. Pacher lines this out on 7%. And we see riders dropping. We see Tiberi gone. I have no idea why he's here. Like, you can combine Giro and Swiss. But Giro Dauphiné is really, really hard. So they should pull him tomorrow.
There's just an obsession from Bahrain Victorious to doing that Giro Dauphiné double, because I swear last year they did the same with Jack Haig, who then also did the Tour de France. But then again, on their defense, Haig did a top 5 in the Dauphiné after the Giro. So maybe they thought, okay, we've seen last year that the Giro was great preparation for the Dauphiné, and decided to conclude that from Haig's appearance last year. But I agree, it's probably not the best preparation, not the best combination. That's why so little people do it in the first place. And while you were saying that, the likes of Tiberi, Froome, Bennett, whatever, all dropping, I was also thinking, is Pedersen going to drop? Is the tempo hard enough for him to drop? And at that moment, he still seemed to be okay. This is in the last 23 to 20 kilometers where suddenly 3 riders go off the front, including a Groupama rider that launches it. And to my surprise, Pedersen moves to the front of the group, starts spacing the group with little Trek rider in the wheel, and then that little Trek rider takes over from Pedersen. Maybe it's like a bit of miscommunication, because I felt like they were still riding for Pedersen.
So did I. I really was confused. When I saw Pedersen start doing it, I was like, what are you doing? Because he did this in Paris-Nice when he chased Pithy maybe, or he closed something down, but that was a shorter climb than this. And then I thought, oh, no. What he's doing is smart. He knows he's about to blow up. He's closing it down for Ciccone. But then he goes back and sits in the group again and fights. And only gets dropped right at the end of the last climb. So he should have been sliding at that point. This is 12, 15 Ks to go?
Well, it's more and more to go, my friend. It's more than 20 kilometers to go.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been doing that effort.
Yeah, and when this happens, Pedersen closes that together with the second little Trek rider that then takes over and closes the last bit of the gap. So they did switch. Pedersen did that small effort initially and then switch. So maybe he did realize I shouldn't be doing this, which credits to him if that's the case. Anyway, that is controlled. We got to keep remembering this breakaway is still up the road. And at this point, their gap is not 17 minutes, but it's like in between. It's not dangerous and maybe dangerous if the tempo drops a little bit. That kind of vibe I had going on at that moment. And with 19 kilometers to go, we get a switch between Groupama pacing towards Bora pacing with Sobrero behind the breakaway. And then it seems like Bora is trying to make the climb harder, not necessarily for the breakaway. Maybe it's one thing, but also for Pedersen is how I see it. And the odd thing is they're doing this on the steep part. And then we get over that steep part with about 15 kilometers to go. And Little Trek takes over just to like say, we're still here, Pedersen's still here, we're still in control, but I'll let it over to you for the last 12 kilometers. Who was taking over then?
Well, it's really tricky to control these sort of breaks and stages because, yeah, the peloton can go quicker on the climbs, but then that drops the rouleurs for the flatter sections in between the climbs. And so then you're left with second and third tier GC guys in the line who, frankly, their natural inclination is not to hit the front with 12 kilometers to go. And so you can have Carlos Verona comes to the front. Useful, versatile riders like that. Tej Benoot, but he won't because why would he want? He wants the break to win. So the bonus seconds are taken away from Roglic for his GC leaders. Jungels is the man you want, but he's dropped.
Yeah.
And I think he was really key to today's stage, Bob Jungels, because he's that guy that you need for the intermediate section between the two climbs to really rip it. And the break, despite attacking each other for the KOM points, Lebert took them. I could not believe how well they got back into organization, like a full 5-man pace line on the flatter section. And so, yeah, they go into the base of the final 3K 6% climb with, I think, 30 seconds, maybe more.
33 roughly.
And Army Rail has been holding something in the tank, immediately launches it and drops them. Visma come to the front, Uno-X come to the front, Ineos comes to the front, into the base of that climb. EF comes to the front with Quinn in the wheel. Start pacing slow because EF can't go too fast. They'll drop Quinn.
Yeah.
Visma don't want the stage. And then all of a sudden, Armirel, 800 meters has gone of this, 25% of this climb has gone. He's taken time to 35, 36 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with Armirai attacking from the rest of the breakaway companions, it was a bit odd because to me, it felt like the other four didn't necessarily react to his attack. And I couldn't tell whether it was because they couldn't attack to that Armirai attack or whether it was because, oh, we think it's not going to get caught anyway kind of thing. Because it was kind of a nonchalant, okay, we'll let him go. It's how it looked. But probably it was much more difficult than that. But the switching point for me on this climb, where it became harder for Armirai, where I was expecting the gap to really become smaller, is when Vlasov was at the front. And it's kind of a two-step thing, because Vlasov goes to the front with an attack. Sivakov and Sean Quinn from EF respond to that. And then when the separation doesn't happen, Vlasov switches to hard pacing. And this is the nail in the coffin for Mes Pedersen, eh?
Yeah, so Pedersen survived the longer climb really well, but this was too much. Same with Sean Quinn. He goes out the back. It really gets thinned out to a group of, I don't know what to finish, 25, 30 riders. Actually more than that, 53 riders, but they're all mostly skinny boys. And it's out the back door for Pedersen, who, yeah, he was climbing really, really well. Ciccone then, and the best option is Gegenhardt here. Yeah, Ciccone and Gegenhardt, the best options now for Little Trek. But all it took, Benji, then was a little lull, and Armirel's just got to make it over the top of that climb. Because it's the same process again. If he makes it over the top of that climb, then what? Then which rouleur will pace? Which rouleur is even there to pace? Because the last 6Ks are flattish, false flat, big ring stuff. And he gets over the top with 14 seconds. I don't know. I couldn't really tell. I agree, because like when Vlasov surged, I thought it was for an attack. And eventually they get over the climb. Armirel takes another 5 seconds out. And then who was pacing initially, Benji? Because initially Hindley and Vlasov weren't pacing. I think it was Wellens. So UAE had 4. Ayuso, who said he was sick last week and didn't know what his shape was in the race. Wellens, Sivakov, Soler. Over the top, Soler countered in like a Remco-style attack.
Yes, indeed. But it was the combination between Israel once again coming to the front and UAE trying to do it. And we said yesterday, maybe there's an opportunity here for Soler to make that counter. But the reality is, if Soler makes that move, there's going to be people responding to that. And I feel like the switch between Israel and UAE towards Bora was between 5 and 4 kilometers to go. And Vlasov and Hindley were really the ones that then started pacing. Vlasov first, and then Hindley came to the front. Both of those. And when I saw those riders pacing on what seemed like not the steepest gradient of this climb, against a rider that is Armirai, who has been in the breakaway all day, but is a former French national champion, can climb relatively well, is a good ruler as well, even though I think FDG once didn't take him to the Tour de France.
They took Pinot's Quebecois mate. Or wherever he's from.
Oh. Duchesne? No.
Yeah, Duchesne.
But yeah, anyway, that story aside, they took him because they didn't consider Armirai good enough on the flat, which I find a shocking excuse. But anyway, when I was looking at the last 4 kilometers with Vlasov Hindley pacing, the gap was still 30 seconds, was 27 seconds, 28 seconds. And I was thinking, okay, if they're really gonna force it to be Bora pacing until the finish line, then Armirai is gonna win. I was personally starting to hope for Armirai because I don't want to see heartbreak in the final kilometer of a stage like this. And X was sitting with 3 domestiques and Magnus Cort Nielsen in the wheel of the Bora riders, and I thought to myself, okay, they are risking it. They're risking it late here, and with about a kilometer to go, the gap is 22 seconds on the ticker, so probably around that, and X hits the front. What was your prediction at that point? I was like, Armirai's got this. There's no way they catch him.
He would have had it because X, I was like, you are playing with fire. And I think actually they did play too much. I think they played too much because they conserved their guys for the last 1,200 meters like it really was a group sprint. Like you really need the riser position. And in reality, if you just bring Cort to the finish here and it's a sprint, he will win. He will just win. So even if he doesn't have a lead out. And so they kind of relied a bit more that Armirai faded. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter. But that's what, I mean, and by the way, we also lose visibility of what's happening at this point. There was like a front on camera shot from the moto of Armirai, but we could see a black cloud coming up the road closer and closer. I was looking at the number, 300 meters to go. I was like, oh, I don't think he's going to make it. And he doesn't. Cort jumps early. He immediately gets separation. Immediately he's got the Pelton off the wheel. Jorgensen's trying to close him. Roglic is in the wheel. Roglic comes out of Jorgensen's wheel, but it's too late. They lose by bike lengths to Magnus Cort. Roglic taking second, Jorgensen third, Ciccone fourth, Lazcano fifth. He's actually, I was expecting him to go for a little flyer actually at some point. Turn sixth, Naruka seventh, Champoussin eighth, Gregoire ninth, maybe a little bit disappointing. Guillaume Martin 10th.
Yeah, I think that's a very worthy winner. That is the first World Tour stage win of X.
That's what people are saying on Twitter.
Because like when Tudor won in Paris, I was like, okay, Tudor was a Conti team 2 years ago. They've made significant progress in 2 years, and then I look at X, and it took longer to get to this point. But then again, they were close a few times. Johannessen's been very close to a Tour de France stage as well. So I don't know. To see Magnus Cort win, I enjoy it on a Magnus Cort style stage. He was one of the favorites for the stage, but to see them deliver that with a risky strategy of waiting long at the end that I thought they had lost at that point, fully deserved to take that victory. And to be honest, when it comes to Roglic then ending up on second position at this stage, I don't actually see that as a negative for Roglic because I expect Cort to destroy him on a stage like this.
Yeah, like what more could Bora have done?
Well, they gave the role when it comes to trying to catch the breakaway in the first place. In doing so, they burned everybody that could lead Roglic out, which leads to riders like Hindley losing time. So it's not like he had the perfect lead out anyway, so he has to kind of position himself, which Roglic historically isn't godlike at positioning in like finals, but this was a pretty straightforward final, so he was in the wheel of Jorgensen. He used Jorgensen in that lead out, and he slips past him and gets second. And I think that's the best result Roglic could have hoped for today. So I think regardless of them pacing all, they got something out of the stage. Israel didn't.
Yeah, they got 6 bonus seconds. And if Cort is there, I mean, what are you going to do? I don't think if Roglic got the perfect lead out, he's not beating Cort anyway. I mean, what you could say is, okay, they then needed to, instead of using Hindley on the flat, use Hindley and Vlasov to absolutely launch the 2 climbs, and then you can drop Cort, maybe. But then you have to keep him behind. Maybe.
Because he seems pretty fresh at the finish line.
Exactly. So it's... I don't think he takes 6 seconds on his GC lead, and it goes to show how, like, Jorgensen actually third. it's not bad. Cicconi's no slouch, nor is Naruka or Gregoire. So it was like a attritional sprint. Very, very strange sort of stage. But yeah, you're right, Benji. Like the cost is Hindley loses
55 seconds? How many seconds did he lose?
54. So nearly a minute. Like that's a considerable loss. I would have thought they would want to keep him in GC. UAE had 4 guys in the group in the end. So they kind of kept guys in GC, but
yeah,
that obviously came at a cost to Hindley.
It's typical UAE behavior. I do feel like Ayuso has set his terms on this race. He said, I think this morning that why can't I try to win the race? Which is fair to say. He can definitely try. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to win the race. He said, why can't I try? And I think he's probably going to be the strongest rider on that team for this race, but it's good for them to have multiple riders in that group just to play around with it. Then again, with the powerful mountain stage we have in the last few days of this race, I think it's all going to come down to the strongest rider anyway, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm just looking through for any other time losses.
Remco in the group, Van Wilder in the group, Landa in the group.
Everyone's in the group. Interestingly, what we noticed is that Nico Denz finished on his own at 20:24, and Pro Cycling Stats calculated that he was actually 14 seconds outside the time limit, but that wasn't confirmed by Tissot, and now he's been moved up to within the time limit, I think, in the official results, according to Luke. So Denz, I think he was pulling all day. He, I don't know what's happened there, but he nearly finished outside the time limit on stage 2, and Jungels wasn't looking too sharp either.
But hey, he's in the race, and while he is on 20 minutes whatever, that is only 2 minutes behind the Gruppetto. So, no, 2 minutes behind the second last rider, which is Adrien Petit, 5 minutes behind the Gruppetto. But if it's within time limit, it's no issue, eh? He could just be, I don't know. It's weird to see a rider behind the Gruppetto, though.
No, I just mean that, like, it's, if he's, I don't know what's happening with the time limit stuff there, but that wasn't in the official results. That was just, now Tissot's put him in the time limit. What's Remco doing, Benji?
I have no clue. I don't mind even, like, I said this before, like, I like the Dauphiné, I like Paris-Nice, those type of races, but reality is, for a lot of riders, these are preparation races. And
I disagree with that.
You disagree with that, really?
Winning is a habit. Learning how to win, how you win, how the team wins is a habit. And these, you don't just say it's preparation, I don't try.
Well, I don't think he's not trying. I think if you say it's preparation, it's probably because you don't think you're ready.
I believe that Remco can top 10 this sprint, and normally better.
Yeah, but why would you try to top 10? That won't bring him value. Podium would be valuable.
It's a process.
To see how close you are to where you want to be.
Yeah, just the process. Like, what's the harm in going for the sprint? Maybe he did and didn't have the legs. I don't know. But
it's an uphill sprint, so a bit less risk when it comes to crashing. So
yeah,
there's no real harm. I get your point.
Like, I just believe he could finish ahead of Louis Mankes on this sprint, even at 95%. That's what I believe.
Fair.
But I used to also, I mean, he's not his best sprint maybe, but he's there in 11th around good names, so he's not sick. He said he was worried, well, not worried. He said he was hoping to see how his legs were after some sickness last week. All right, tomorrow's GC is the same order as the stage finish. Magnus Cort takes the GC lead ahead of Roglic. Jorgensen third. The stage 3 is also an uphill finish tomorrow, Benji. This one actually finishes uphill though.
Yeah.
Not as hard, but finishes uphill, which is an important distinction. 181 Ks. Short climb out of neutral. Couple of rollers in the first 20 Ks, then some flat. Then a 3.5K, 8.8% climb with 100 Ks to go. Descent or some ridge line. Then a stepped climb, like 16 Ks at 4%, but all the climbing in there I think is steeper than that because there's about 5 descents in there. Then there's some more rolling hills, and then 4 Ks, 5% at the finish, which is
You're
called
lying to our
stables.
audience, my friend. Les Estables has a 200-meter flat sprint at the end, my friend.
Oh, is it? Oh, right at the end, it's flat.
Yeah. Like the last 200 meters is like 1.4%. The rest is climbing.
Okay. Fair enough. What do you make? This really looks like the Algarve stage.
It does. So if you're X, Magnus Scott Nielsen, you try and repeat it again. If you're Bora, I don't see why you wouldn't do the same exact again if Dens is up for it. Because if you can get 6 more bonus seconds, then sorry, but 12 bonus seconds on other GC competitors is worth it. But on the other hand, if you're Israel, I'm not sure you should control the entire stage again. I would consider other opportunities. For example, Derek G finished in the top 20 today.
Go on the break.
Either breakaway or some kind of attack somewhere on the parkour where it fits. I think those ideas are likely to be more viable for a result, because it's also 4.9%. It's not like it's 10% where Dylan Teuns can really benefit from that.
No.
That puncher quality he has over others on those steep gradients. So I don't know. It's 181 kilometers. It being longer than today's stage, I'm pretty sure, by quite a bit, by 40 kilometers. Does that make it less eager for teams to control?
I think it does. If you're Bora, are you really gonna 181 Ks? I think this finish is much better for Roglic. It's like a really good Roglic finish because you can get a gap on court uphill. It's okay. Say you even lose, you still take 6 seconds, but you're going to have to use your team. I think, and don't you think, Benji, there could be some attacks in the middle of the stage, especially if the break is really weak? Like on that 9% climb, if you're G, why don't you launch there? See who can control.
I personally think that climb is in the wrong place in the stage to have that consequence. As in, this will be in a situation where the break has formed most likely by then, I think. Maybe on the Ogerole climb, which is the first Volkart climb in the stage. And then the next valley seems like the kind of area where the break gap will expand before we get to that point. And at that point, you're 100 kilometers before the finish line once you arrive at that climb, which even Derek G won't be attacking there, in my personal opinion. So it's either breakaway or try and do something in the last. It's weird because there's this weird phase between 60 kilometers to go and 40 kilometers to go. That's basically uphill with ups and downs in it.
Yeah, which really hard to control.
On one end, hard to control, but on the other hand, also not ideal if you're in the breakaway, in my opinion.
No, it really depends who's chasing, because Trek won't chase tomorrow for Pedersen, I don't believe. I think they'll think it's too hard. And so I don't see Verona smacked on the front there. Who do I like from the breakaway?
I like Derek G.
I'm going to go with Quentin Pacher from the break. But I'm not sure. Like, if he gets in, he's going to be hard to beat on that finish. I don't know if the other teams agree with us, Benji. I don't know if they agree with us. Soler from the break is pretty good. It's a very hard stage
to predict.
Yeah. It just really depends how the directors feel when they look at it this evening, because I think it should be a break stage, because there's not enough guarantee that Roglic can take the bonies, and he'll have to kill his team for it. And all the other GC contenders won't be confident that they can beat him. Maybe X just go for court full gas, and they have a strong team. They've got Leknesund, and he's in the yellow jersey, and they want to keep the yellow jersey. So it's tricky.
Is the 23, 25, 30 kilometers of climbing that we have between that 60 kilometers to go and 30 kilometers to go harder than we expect because it's follow each other?
I think so.
Up?
I think it's actually quite hard because all the climbing is steeper than the average gradient suggests.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe Bora will try to maybe Visma thinks, okay, we took 4 bonus seconds today, we can make that part hard. I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily see it happen,
think that Jorgensen should beat Roglic in a uphill punch.
On paper, no. But the rest of the competition.
Yeah, true. And 4 on the others, but for all day, it's a tricky one.
You'd rather see Bora do it if you're Visma.
Yeah. I don't think Van Baarle will be on the front.
Clement Berthet?
Clement Berthet? Yeah, I really think teams should look into that, and Remco Evenepoel. He said he's not here for GC, so just let him in the break. Take 5 minutes, right?
Imagine the chaos in the peloton. If Remco decides, I'm going to try and
Remco's
go
like, guys, I'm really not here for GC. Look at my training peaks. He like brings out his joint cycling plan, and he's like, look, I didn't even do my plan properly. And they're like, you have to believe me, I'm 50 watts off. Let me in the break. And they're like, nah.
If Remco Evenepoel is watching this podcast, you need to go on that climb with 100 kilometers to go, that 9%
Everyone
climb.
will shit themselves.
Just for the entertainment of us viewers.
I swear last year he was on 25 minutes and Visma was stopping him getting the break.
Yes.
In the Vuelta. Oh, man. Okay, hopefully we see a Remco. Spice up the stage tomorrow, because otherwise it might be a break. All right. I hope you enjoyed listening. As always, thanks to our show partner, Join Cycling. And we'll see you with a recap of the stage, which we can't really predict too accurately. Stage 3 of the Critérium du Dauphiné tomorrow. Until then, ciao.